Ooh, shell. Cheesecake, take one. Ta-da! Can you see that? Here's a present for you. Hello everybody and welcome to Sweet Tooth, the baking series that puts the Cheesecake Factory to shame. That is because we are making a homemade New York style cheesecake. Oh my God, you guys, I have been waiting for this episode. Let's just talk about cheesecake for a second. Cheesecake can be a problem child. It can crack, it can be a little lumpy, but all of those things are very preventable. And I'm gonna show you exactly how to make a creamy, dreamy, delicious cheesecake at home. So with that said, let's talk about ingredients. Cheesecake is typically made from a combination of cream cheese, granulated sugar, and eggs. Something fun about the cheesecake we're gonna do today is in addition to cream cheese, we are going to use a full fat sour cream. This is gonna do a few things to our cheesecake. One, it's gonna level out the tanginess that we get from the cream cheese, but the sour cream is also going to, I would say, lighten our cheesecake in a way because cream cheese on its own, especially when it's cooked, it can be very dense and really compact. The sour cream in our cheesecake base is going to help to keep our cheesecake a little, gosh, I would even say more moist and just a little bit lighter while still retaining that really nice richness that you get in cheesecake that we all want. Of course, on our cheesecake, we are going to do a classic graham cracker crust. And I think we should actually start this episode off with a little segment on how to make the perfect graham cracker crust for your cheesecake. Welcome to Back to Basics, how to make the perfect graham cracker crust. A graham cracker crust is a must for creating the perfect cheesecake. It's just the quintessential base to your cheesecake tower. And really you only need three things. You need some graham crackers, butter, and then you need some granulated sugar. I'm going to make this baby in a food processor. I find this to just be the easiest way to make a really nice fine crumb with our graham crackers. If you don't have a food processor, you can take a large, heavy line Ziploc bag, put these babies into here, seal it up so you don't make a huge mess, and then just take anything hard and whack the out of your graham crackers until they make a fine crumb. But we're gonna be a little more professional. This recipe calls for 1.5 cups of graham cracker crumbs, so we're just gonna shove these babies in there. I find it helps to just break them up the tiniest bit so that they all come together in that food processor. Just like that. Let's go. All right. Beautiful. It's this really nice fine crumb of graham crackers. And now we're just gonna add in our other two ingredients. So we're gonna do 1 stick of melted butter that just goes right over the top. And then 1/3 of a cup of granulated sugar right in there. Then we're just gonna pulse this all together one more time just so everything incorporates nicely. Looks good to me. So what you're going to end up with is this texture that really resembles like a wet sand. We're gonna put this into the bottom of a cheesecake pan. So a cheesecake pan is basically a pan that has a removable bottom and it makes it so it's really easy to get your cheesecake out later. And I'm gonna grab, I think this should be good, one of my handy dandy parchment paper sheets, and I'm just gonna do like a rough cut into the shape of this circle. Whenever I'm just baking in general, I adopt the idea that nothing has to be absolutely essentially perfect. We're gonna put this into the bottom and then we can put our graham crackers on top. So we're gonna dump this in. Be careful of that inner blade as it goes in. I'm just gonna sort of shimmy things out. As you'll see, this is not a crust yet. And in order to make it into the best crust it can be, we want the crust to be very, very compact. I'm gonna take the bottom of a cup measure and I'm just gonna go through and I'm going to smush this down and it's going to really nicely compact our graham cracker crust. That looks perfect to me. So there you have it, my friends. a perfect graham cracker crust ready to fulfill its destiny as the base of your cheesecake. Okay, time to make our cheesecake filling. So I am using a stand mixer for this. If you don't have a stand mixer, you can do this in a hand mixer, but I would definitely recommend using one of those two just to get things really nicely incorporated. We are going to use 24 ounces of cream cheese. As you can see, I'm using Philadelphia. Now, one thing that is incredibly important in cheesecake is having every single one of your ingredients at room temperature. Very, 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 very important. In terms of cream cheese, I would not use any sort of low-fat cream cheese. It's just gonna end up with a much less creamy, velvety cheesecake that ends up tasting a little bit more gummy, and we don't want that. All right, so those three into the bowl of our stand mixer, and then we are just going to add in our sour cream here and then mix those guys just until they are incorporated. You might think that in making a perfect cheesecake, you wanna cream everything together really, really like intensely. You do not. You actually want to incorporate as little air as possible. You're only gonna put this over a low to like a medium low speed. And I'll put this in the center so you can see it. Okay, so this looks great. If you are finding that when you mix those two things together, things are starting to get clumpy, literally take this out, put it in the microwave on the defrost setting for like 30 seconds. That should help to warm up your filling. And now we are going to add in our granulated sugar. So we'll just add this in and then just mix low speed until combined. Perfect, done. Now we're going to add our eggs, and you wanna add these eggs one at a time. Again, room temperature eggs, everything staying room temperature. So here's egg number one, mix it on low speed until combined. All right, we're gonna take a minute to scrape down the sides of the bowl. Make sure everything's super incorporated. And then add in that second egg. What we are going to do is add in that fourth egg, and then I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of vanilla extract. I just think this gives everything a really, really nice flavor. We don't have to measure vanilla with a tablespoon or a teaspoon measurement. We can just measure vanilla with the heart. Okay, beautiful. So final step in getting this cheesecake filling ready, I very highly recommend doing this last step, and that is taking a fine mesh strainer and using this to sift through any final lumps that you maybe didn't get while you were mixing. You can use the back of your spatula to sift things through and really like push that final. And now our cheesecake is ready to go into the oven. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tap this on my counter until I see these little tiny air bubbles at the top pop. And what this is gonna do is this is gonna make it so our cheesecake doesn't bubble when it cooks. The last thing we want is for our cheesecake to make all of these cracks in the middle, and that can happen when your oven is too dry and it causes that beautiful moist cheesecake to separate. So, because we don't want that to happen, what we're gonna do is we are going to add water to our oven. I just happen to have this container here. You can use any sort of pan you have. It can be a cake pan, anything you can add water to. I'm gonna add about an inch of water. So I'm gonna put this at the bottom of my oven, and then this is gonna go right above it. It's gonna go into a preheated 325-degree oven for an hour. The last thing to note, after that hour's up, what we're gonna do is we're just going to turn the oven off and we're gonna crack our oven open. You're going to allow that cheesecake to slowly cool in your oven. So if you take it right out of a hot oven and then it just sits at room temperature, it can start to crack and do some weird things. After that, you can take it out and put it in the fridge. All right, so let's do it. bottom shelf. Bye, Cheesecake. So excited to meet you later. So here is our beautiful cheesecake baby right out of the oven. So you can see it did this beautiful deflate and it has a really nice, not cracked top, which is exactly what we're looking for. I'm gonna put this in the fridge to cool completely, which should take between 2 and 4 hours. But before I do, I just want to take a butter knife and I just want to drag this along the edge of our cheesecake. I'm going to cover it with tin foil. This is just gonna make sure that your cheesecake isn't too exposed to air. We don't want it to dry out on the top. So I'm just gonna cover that baby with tin foil, and then, you guys don't know, we have another cheesecake in there that's ready to go. But let's just all play for a minute. Okay, ready? I'm gonna put this in for 4 hours. I'll see you in 4 hours. Okay, let's see. Moment of truth, moment of truth. Does he look perfect? I bet he does. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Look at that. A perfectly, just lightly golden cheesecake. No cracks, because we worked so hard on that. I basically just want to go over these edges one more time. And then what we're gonna do is we are going to lift this off of our springform pan like this. So we're literally, you can sort of loosen it with your fingies. And then we're just gonna lift this slowly, carefully. Oh my gosh, that's perfect. And now I can transfer this over to my other hand, lose the rest of the springform, and then carefully transfer the rest of this to our final resting place for this cheesecake. We wanna go with the sharpest knife that's in our drawer anytime we cut our baked goods. It's just gonna make them so you get those really beautiful, nice, clean cuts. One thing that I absolutely love doing to make that cut like the cleanest it can be is just to warm my knife under hot water and then just wipe it ever so slightly to get the actual wetness off of the knife, because we don't need the wet, we just want the hot. And then I'm gonna come in and cut that baby. Just one nice, beautiful cut, push it all the way to the bottom. And then I'm just gonna drag it out. And then what I'll do is I'll just wipe off anything that came onto that knife, and I'm gonna go back to the hot water and do that again. I think I'm gonna do a big slice. Yeah. Let's go big. All right, oh my gosh. Now what I'll do, since we do have this parchment paper on the bottom, this is where I'll start to wiggle the cheesecake off of the parchment paper. Are you ready for this? Oh, a perfect slice of cheesecake. Look at it. Hello. Thank you for being you. Okay, so this is gonna go on here. I literally just like cooked down some strawberries and sugar and water, and I thought that would be fun to top it with, because sometimes like a little jammy topping is really nice for cheesecake. But if you wanted to be a simple minimalist, this would also be great. Just for presentation, you know? Just a little, ooh, don't fall too much. Let's go in, let's do this. I'm gonna go first, the cheesecake by itself. Oh my gosh. I mean, come on. Cheesecake Factory has nothing on us. The graham cracker crust, I mean, she's a classic. Everything's perfect. It's a perfect cheesecake. I feel like the strawberry adds a really nice brightness to it. I actually really like it with that on top. Okay, you guys, if you want to find this full recipe and recipes like it, I am including the link in the show notes to both my blog and this recipe. If you enjoyed this video and you want to like, comment, and subscribe, I would so appreciate it. Oh my God, I hate that part, but if you feel like it, thank you, would love. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will see you next week for another baking episode, but until then, happy cheesecaking, hope you enjoyed, and have a great week. Homemade caramel, take one. Welcome to Sweet Tooth, the baking series that teaches you how to make the #1 caramel on Google. That's right, friends. My caramel recipe is #1 on Google for a reason, and that is because it is so easy, so straightforward, and nearly foolproof.